So today I want to talk to you about food plot seeds. I'm going to show you a couple of the food plot seeds that I'm using this year. Um, so first let's talk about the different ones that I'm going to use. So this year I'm going to really do a lot of brassicas. And our food plots seem to really get a lot of good quality usage for the deer out of those. You know, last year they mowed down all of my turnip seeds, or all my turnip plants that, we planted out. So I'm kind of increasing what we're planting this year. So first let's start with showing you the seeds. So here's a 2-pound bag that I'm going to be using of kale. I'll be putting all this into a brassica mix basically, and planting the different food plots that we're using. But did you notice there's no manufacturer or no major corporation on that? It's because I bought that off Amazon, found the cheapest ones that guaranteed good seed and had good reviews, and that's what I bought. I'm not going to use a company that puts a whole bunch of trash or or just organic matter in the bags. If you actually take time to break down some of those bags, look at them, a lot of them say organic matter or something along that line, as far as in their percentages where they don't have that much seed percentage. And to me, that's not a good practice. So I've stopped using a lot of those companies that do that, and just started buying my own seed. So this, and if you can notice how small those seeds are. So if you've never planted a brassica before, brassica seeds are extremely tiny. So this 2 pounds, I think it said for kale, this is good for about half an acre. So 2 pounds doesn't sound like a lot until you say that it's good for half an acre of coverage. So you're mixing that in with other brassicas, turnips, radishes, whatever. That's quite a bit of coverage for you. So let's move on to our next one. Take a guess what this is. This is turnip seeds. It's in a brown paper bag because I went to the co-op and got it. Co-op sells these for $6.99 a pound this year. That's 4 pounds of turnip seeds. The purple top turnips that I get from the local co-op. 5 pounds does a full acre. So I mean that's almost a full acre basically for coverage. You add that, mix that in with the kale, and then mix it in with the other seeds that we're going to have, and you've got a pretty good little mix there to cover different food plots that I'm going to be doing. I always like the purple top turnips, not just because the deer like them. I can go eat them if I want to go pick some. But the deer really do seem to like those. So definitely one of the top things that I'm going to plant for food plots. And like I said, about the kale, I'm not going to use a name brand manufacturer when I can go to the co-op and get the same thing, usually cheaper at co-op than anywhere else as well. I've got a little over 20 bucks in that bag. So to me, it's a good investment. Our next one that I want to talk to you about is this 10-pound bag. This is radishes. These are actually called forage radishes that I got this year. They're supposed to have a lot of greens, but they're also supposed to have a really long radish that's got a long taproot that goes into the ground. The deer won't eat that part, but that'll help with your food plot next year. It adds that extra organic matter into the ground directly, so when those start rotting, you've got all that extra fertilizer in the ground for your next food plot. So it's kind of a win-win. It also kind of breaks up the soil and helps the earthworms move around it a little bit, since I'm going to be doing these as no-till plots. That's definitely a big plus. So I've got 10 pounds of that. And again, the seeds are tiny, like all brassica seeds. 10 pounds of that. You've got 4 pounds of the turnip seeds, and I've got 2 pounds of brassica. So I've got 16 pounds of seed right here. That'll do almost all the food plots that I need. There's a couple other seeds I'm still going to get that we haven't got yet. Chicory and winter peas. We'll probably get about 50 pounds of winter peas, and chicory probably get about 10 pounds. The chicory I'll mix in with the brassicas, and then the winter peas, what I'll do is I'll plant an end on each food plot with a good helping of the winter peas, where it'll be basically an isolated area. And what I'll do when I plant that is I'll try to plant those winter peas in a spot where it's going to make the deer go through the brassicas to get to the winter peas. That way they'll nibble the brassicas on the way to the winter peas, and it's gets them wanting to eat that. And if you've never used brassicas before, that's a great way to do it, is using a food plot seed that you've used in the past that you know the deer have to eat. Force them to walk through those brassicas to get to that, and they're going to nibble those brassicas on the way through. And then they're going to, once they get that taste, they're going to come back, and that's going to be their main source that they're going to want to eat on, because they're so palatable and they're so digestible for the deer. And if you're like me, you've probably heard the old saying of, well, yeah, they like the turnips, but you have to have a frost in order for them to like it first. Nah, that's not true. I planted them, and 1st of October had them getting mowed down by the deer, and in Oklahoma we don't have frost that early. Sometimes our frost isn't until November lately, the way it seems, but it's definitely not true that you have to have a frost for them to enjoy the brassicas. So looking at the forecast, there's actually some rain forecasted in the next week. It's been real hot. It's going to be up in the hundreds this week, and then it's supposed to have a front come through on Sunday. There's a 40% chance of rain, and then there's a 10% chance on Monday. I think it was like a 5 or 10% chance on Tuesday. Then the chances go up again on Wednesday, Thursday, and they haven't showed about next Friday for next week yet. But with that being said, there's also been a heavy dew in the mornings. This morning it was extremely foggy when I got up. So all of that combined with the time, it's looking at the calendar, it's July 28th. So that means this weekend's the 1st of August. So that's perfect time to plant. That way this is good and established by the time the deer get moving in. I'm really debating on maybe planting a couple of my food plots this weekend, that way they can go ahead and start getting established. That heavy dew in the morning, that'll keep the ground good and moist. They'll be able to use that to start growing. Then if we do get those rain showers that come in, that'll just be that much more moisture to help them grow in the coming days. So I'll probably do my food plots this weekend. I do need to brush hog a little bit more, so probably what the game plan will be is Saturday morning, get up early, fuel the tractor up, take the tractor over with the brush hog everything down real quick, and then come behind it, seed right over top of that where the seed will fall down. With this real little seed, it'll fall underneath what you brush hog. That mulch will be perfect to keep the seeds covered when it dews the next morning or rains on Sunday. That moisture will be contained in that, plus it'll help contain it in the soil where the soil is not going to be too hot to burn the seeds or anything. That'll definitely help get things going. Planting it this early for me, since the deer are going to come in about the middle of September, should get the plants high enough where I don't have to worry about them mowing them down and getting things destroyed while they're seedlings and just starting. So that's kind of my plans. I'll bring you along when we do the planning this weekend, kind of see what our process is. I typically don't spray. The only place I'm going to probably spray this year is the food plot here behind the house, and the only reason for that is because we've got Johnson grass growing there. If you know anything about Johnson grass, once you brush hog it, it shoots right back up really quickly. We mowed it down a couple weeks ago. It's already back up to 5 foot tall. So what I'll do is I'll brush hog that down. That's going to spark it to want to grow. I'll spray it with some glyphosate, and then I'll give it a day, and then we'll go in and plant. Or maybe even later that afternoon, I might be able to go ahead and do my planting. So that's kind of our plans. If you have any questions, about kind of what our plans are, or even have questions about how you can adapt what we're doing to where you're at, or what maybe help choosing what seeds would work for you, what type of plants, feel free to comment. I'll be more than happy to give you my comments. I'm not a professional land manager. I'm not going to claim to be, but I've been doing food plots since I was about 10. I'm 35 now, so I've definitely got the years of doing this. I've done it tons of different ways. I've done the no-tills, which is my preferred method. I've done the till the ground up, disc it up, and plant. So I've done several different ways. I don't, like I said, I don't like chemicals. I'm not against using chemicals if I need to, but I'd rather not. And I've really gotten to where I would prefer to, use the no-till methods. And my favorite way is to brush hog. I've seen other guys that their favorite way is to seed it, smash down the plants, and then spray chemical on it. I've seen others that go and buy these real expensive crimpers, and if you've ever looked at some of those crimpers that some of these guys use, like $4,800. I can't go justify spending that much money to plant my few food plots that I do every year. But I can justify brush hogging because I've got a tractor. I've already got the brush hog, so I can justify taking the time to go over and brush hog. Yes, I will have a few weeds that are going to come up in it, but for the most part, I have a fairly good crop. I mean, and even with those few weeds that do come up, you're talking ragweed and stuff in the fall. Those have really high protein contents. They're really palatable for the deer. The deer really like them. So that actually ends up benefiting me more than it hurts me. You can listen to some of these guys talk on YouTube that I've listened to, and oh, every weed's a bad weed. You got to get rid of them, otherwise you're not going to have any success. Well, that's not true. So, I mean, maybe in their part of the country it could be. I don't know. I don't know what kind of weeds they're dealing with, but around here, it's not true. It actually benefits me. I mean, I've seen a lot of benefit. Last year we had the food plots planted, and the deer would come through. They'd I could watch them take a bite of peas this bite, maybe a brassica the next bite, and then maybe some of the natural ragweed or any of other weeds that are growing that they find palatable that they like. So you use your environment that you have on hand and the plants that you have growing around you to your benefit, but you want to supplement that with stuff that will draw them in. So we'll discuss planning more, and I'll show you kind of my process when we do that planning, and it's definitely something that anyone can do. I mean, even if you've got a push mower, you could do what I'm going to do, or a weed eater, you could do what I'm going to do. And we'll talk about that this weekend when I go to plant. So safe planning. Hope everyone's getting their stuff done, and if you're in this excessive heat that we've got going across the country, stay cool. Like and subscribe for more videos.